What's up, guys and gals of the movement world? It's Sean Mishka, the Movement Miyagi, coming to you once again on behalf of Football Beyond the Stats and our Movement Play of the Week. This week for week 2 of the 2024 National Football League season. And this week, we're going to be talking about somebody right down the road from me here in Minnesota, Justin Jefferson, all pro, all world wide receiver of the Minnesota Vikings, and what he did this past Sunday in week 2 at US Bank Stadium against the defending NFC champion San Francisco 49ers, and one of the best defenses in all of the land, all of the league, and what he was able to do just as he's done over the course of the last number of seasons since he came onto the scene in 2020 as a rookie and took the league by storm. But that being said, something that we're going to see from him today is not necessarily something we would have seen play out in the same way in these last number of seasons, particularly upon his ability to detect and perceive information sources, informational variables that relate to his immediate opponents, the immediate behaviors of those opponents, and how it might be playing out, informing him of the what is, what's there, what opportunities are present, and how else he might be able to act upon those affordances, upon those opportunities. And I think it's here we're going to see some growth and even evolution of one of the game's very, very best in the National Football League. So let's get into it. Let's dive in. We're going to watch it at 100% speed. If you haven't seen it, though, we're going to take a little bit of look and investigation on a supporting actor who maybe, just maybe, will become a little bit of the feature as well. In one Mr. Tyree Walton, the back judge, NFL referee here, former running back at Adam State. But I digress. We'll get into that in a bit. So we'll see Jefferson here. Right there, he's kind of circled him. Obviously, to the right of his quarterback, Sam Darnold, new quarterback for the Minnesota Vikings, and let's watch it play out. 100% speed. This bad boy goes for 97 yards, and this bad boy being one of the baddest, as I mentioned. But we're going to see some nuances here play out for how Justin Jefferson is able to surf this wave, how he's able to interact with these local movement problems in ways that he hasn't before. If you have dove into Justin Jefferson, hopefully some of these things are going to make more sense to you as they play out and as we point them out. So second time through here, again, 97 yards to pay dirt, even though the Minnesota Vikings were already in the league. Hopefully some of the things that you've heard and seen as a theme from me in the past are already jumping off the screen as you watch Jefferson perceive to act and act to perceive. A little hint there as he surfs this wave and what the wave has to offer him. Remember, that is our theme here for the 2024 National Football League season, looking at some of the nuances, some of the analogous nature of a surfer wave relationship and the problem solver relationship that takes place on a National Football League Sunday. So 50% here, let's get into it and see if we can find some of those nuances that point to the growth in the evolution of Justin Jefferson, namely after the catch. We know that he always gets yards after the catch. In fact, he's one of the very best at doing it. However, I've often said over the last 2 or 3 years that this is the area that I felt as though he could fill in some gaps, that there were still some very apparent weaknesses, particularly in how he continued to search the entire landscape, the landscape that would be present after he catches the ball, and that landscape of true affordances. Remember, affordances being opportunities to act. He would get often very tunnel visioned in a way that he was solving problems, really looking at the immediate defender and not looking to or through, or not scanning and searching the entirety of the landscape, particularly the width of the landscape, for potential opportunities. Today, on this very play against the San Francisco 49ers, we're going to see something a little different from him. Let's get to that point. I want to give where credit due here, okay? We see Jalen Nailor, one of the fastest players of the league in his own right, kind of drawing attention right away to make this play possible. We're not going to see it necessarily from this view, but Nailor here down wide right split out wide right, and you're going to see him on the dig route, which pulls the 49ers safety up just momentarily. It allows him to hesitate perceptually. And because those perceptions flow into those actions, and that's going to be a theme here today, one that we've harnessed here at Football Beyond the Stats and my movement play of the week. When we tell the movement problem solving story, remember we want to attempt to respect the movement problem. And that problem is going to have its changing states of organization that flow into the solver's behavioral organization and what they might be perceiving, what they might be thinking about, the decisions they make, the ways they intend to act. And that channels right into the ways that they act. They can't be separated from one another, the perceptions, cognitions, and actions. We've talked about this before, but we see it play out here again. You're not going to be able to see it from this view nearly to the degree that we will in the second view. So just kind of hold that thought with me, if you will. Same thing about how Jefferson himself gets open. And we see it now as I pause it. He's open, especially in the National Football League, especially running to the middle of the field, down kind of this pipe by himself, having gotten behind two San Francisco 49er defenders. One of them being his guy that he beat based on the way that he ran the route, which we'll see on the view next, right after this. But then also the deep safety who shouldn't have let him get behind him to begin with, but bit on the nailer dig. We're also going to see that other supporting actor here that I talked about earlier, Tyree Walton. Kind of the folk hero that is Tyree Walton now in the National Football League here in week 2, early in this 2024 season, former running back for Adams State. And he's going to put some of those running back skills on display. We're going to see a lot of people point to the I think, and we already have on ESPN, Sports Illustrated, and probably numerous others that I haven't seen yet. The speeds that he was able to hit, just like Justin Jefferson or just like Jalen Naylor. But what I'd like you guys to think about, those viewers here at Football Beyond the Stats, we think a little deeper than just miles per hour. We think a little deeper than just linear speed in a straight line. We're thinking about the problem-solving nuances in nature of that respective player. How the player is perceiving to act and acting to perceive, in this constant mutual reciprocal relationship between those processes and between the problem that's there. So we see the back judge, Tyree Walton here, now the folklore hero in the National Football League season. So let's get into what all parties are doing here as these problem solution dynamics play out. I'm going to pause just a little bit right here. Let me see one more frame. Right there is what I'm looking at. And you might not be able to see it exactly because the NFL buffers and blurs this out for me when I'm trying to record over the video. But one of the things I've been critical about Justin Jefferson in the past that kind of brought out his weakness, his gap, this area that I felt as though he should still be able to work on and find more opportunities to act, to create even more plays in these types of game-breaking type plays at that, is he would think that a lot of it was about him getting the ball and then just sort of acting right here, straight in a straight line. And in these cases, he typically would have just put on the Jets. I mean, that is his nickname after all. Put on the Jets and just tried to outrun these two defenders. But based on a bit of the angle and the constant changing unfolding problem, bearing angle, relative velocity values, meaning the defender's speed in relation to Jefferson as the ball carrier, I'm going to guess that these two would have likely brought him down, the old Justin Jefferson. But the evolved Justin Jefferson and where this actually came from and emerged from, hopefully it wasn't a one-off. Hopefully it's something that continues to unfold. You see him look over his shoulder and proactively act to perceive. He turns his body, he turns his head, he turns his eyes in a way to pick up more information about what's there, the what is. And it channels his actions from here. And that's what I want to point out. You might not be able to see it, but if you really look close, you can tell that his body is turned and he's looking through his periphery over his right shoulder to be able to pick up. You guys know I got to get out my my stamps and my stars and my circles and everything else, right? He's picking up information about one of the defenders who might present a major threat. He's actively visually perceiving him. But in order to do so and to know where he is and what kind of threat he really is, he does have to act in a way to pick up that information. Now he can feel where this guy is. Okay. So it's a 2v1, even though he's winning the race. He being Justin Jefferson is winning the race at this moment. If this would have been old Justin Jefferson, and now I say old, I think he's only like 25 years old yet, because of how much he's actually already accomplished since 2020. But the 2020, 21, 22, 23 version, I don't know if he's peeking over his shoulder in this way. It's likely that he would be trying to turn on the Jets and just outrun him or outrun both of them in this case. But this Justin Jefferson does not. This Justin Jefferson perceives to act and he changes his actions in relation to it. Let's not miss it, okay? Because none of this is by coincidence, guys and gals, and that's the thing that I want you to realize. It's this constant, alive, unfolding nature. Watch him perceive the information. Oops, sorry about that. Watch him perceive the information and how he subsequently acts in accordance to it. He veers left. He veers towards the sideline. We're going to point out Tyree Walton, our guy Tyree Walton, here in a bit because we got to give credit where credit's due momentarily. So let's not forget about the back judge right here, Tyree Walton. But for a moment, let's continue to focus on Justin Jefferson. Okay. Watch the perceive to act process that continues. He gets more gap. He gets more space. He likely feels 27 space open up away from him, but he knows this isn't done. This isn't over with. Okay. Bearing angles can be highly informative. Bearing angles meaning how one else's angle of that pursuit angle is changing in relation to my own. Okay. If we draw some of these lines and then we can kind of think about how it might unfold from here, we know that Justin Jefferson changed his bearing angle, but we know that 27 as well as an ultimately 30 based on the angle. Now let's try to kind of draw that for 30. The angle of pursuit that is going to be constantly changing will have this sort of like prospective intersection point and what could lead to Jefferson actually getting head off at the sideline before he hits pay dirt. So let's continue to think about that. Now, we don't know exactly how that's going to play out, and I'm not suggesting that he's calculating in sort of a beautiful mind type of fashion. But what I am saying, this savant that is Justin Jefferson on a football field, we see some growth and evolution of it. There's the head turn again. Let me see where that guy is. Let me get an updated understanding of the online what is. Now, I don't know if he noticed that 30 here is already starting to get a little labored, but he starts to realize, he being Jefferson, begins to realize, like, I have these guys on a string. And I think he thinks at this point, and now I'm speculating right now, I'm trying to tell the movement problem solving story from Justin Jefferson's perspective. If we rewind a little bit and just watch how it unfolds and how he acts, he's getting this constant update of 27. He believes that 27 Brown is going to be able to intersect him before he reaches the end zone, especially knowing that there's still 30 yards to go between him and the goal. But what he does then, watch this deceleration in context now, okay? And this is why it's important and imperative that we can't just decelerate in a vacuum or in a bubble by oneself in isolation and in decontextualized settings, right? We want to be able to decelerate in relation to another human, in relation to another the behaviors of another person, right? And that's what we see right now. Deceleration is only, man, I'm bad on the mouse today. Deceleration is only as good as it will remain a functional fit to the problem in the what is. I want you to watch the subsequent actions now. I will belabor this point, okay? Perceive to act, act to perceive, but remember one's intentions are in there too. What do I mean by that? Their aims to act in a given way. Justin Jefferson has his global intention, which is to score, but he has these local moment by moment intentions. Make this guy miss, get more space, break back, cut back behind these guys, okay? And what I'm trying to point out here for y'all is that we're all problem solving in this way. We're all perceiving to act and acting perceive. We're all scaffolded by our intentions at the same time. One Mr. Tyree Walton here as well, just like 27 and 32. Okay. So let's think about this now as Jefferson not even stops on a dime. He kind of has this curvature of this deceleration and plant and change direction. Okay. As he moves into this crossover, always allowing the what is to feed into his what, which is his emerging movement problem solving process. Now we see him perceive another party, and we're going to give that credit and put the spotlight on here momentarily to our co-mover of the week here in Tyree Walton. Look at Justin Jefferson. Let me go a couple frames back and you'll see what I mean. We see him look right straight to, and I don't want you guys to miss this. He is constantly looking to and through now. The old Justin Jefferson might have only been looking to and not necessarily through or wider. Right now, we see him being proactively searching the width, and you're about to see that. He looks to and through right here. He picks up an update of 27 and 30, but he knows what lies behind them and beyond them because he knows nothing else is over there, and he knows it's just him, green grass in the end zone. But just to be sure, just to be on the safe side, we clear the drawing. We're going to go a couple frames ahead. And what do we see him do? Look to his right and literally proactively act to perceive. This, guys and gals, while he knows where 27 and 30 are, look at where he's looking now. What else is threatening? What else might be out here? What else is an opportunity to act or could be a perturbation, could be a threat, could be a challenge that I'm going to have to attempt to resolve in some way, shape, or form? At this point, likely as well, when he scans and looks over his shoulder, what he's going to see is the individual that we're going to point to here in a little bit. Let's watch it again. He glances past. He sees Tyree Walton in full sprint, mind you, keeping up with National Football League players right now. I think I saw the NFL Next Generation stats on Justin Jefferson, and it was just under 20 miles an hour. I mean, I didn't see anything on Tyree Walton. I'm guessing that they probably have position tracking on him too. He's probably hitting in the 18, 19, maybe even 20 miles an hour himself at some point here, probably just a tad slower than Jefferson. But what you see, I don't want you to miss, because all of these nuances are new layers of the way that the surfer interacts with the wave. No two waves are the same. No two movement problems are the same. So in order to become one with that movement problem, that unique, peculiar, individualized movement problem, one must relate to it and get the perceptions, cognitions, and actions to be intertwined and interwoven to relate to it accordingly. And that's what we're all going to see from Tyree Walton in a bit. What we also see here, and I'm going to go ahead and guess that Jalen Naylor wants to get himself into the mix when he's inspired by Tyree Walton. And he does exactly that, gets this last block as Jefferson finds his way into the end zone. Really impressive stuff. But we don't want to think about only the actions. Like my man Bruce Lee said, it's like a finger pointing away to the moon. Don't concentrate on the finger. Don't concentrate just on the actor or just on the action. But instead, as Bruce Lee would say, focus on all the heavenly glory. Don't miss all the heavenly glory. Don't miss what the finger is pointing at. Don't miss how Justin Jefferson is acting in relation to and what led to that, what led to those actions. While we still have this view, let's look at, man, I just keep undoing this. Let's look at Tyree Walton, okay? I mentioned him before and what it is that he was able to accomplish here. I want to give credit where credit's due and respect this zebra right here in black and white, this back judge, for doing what he did. Let's just fixate and focus our attention on and think about how his perceptions flow into his cognitions, his decisions, his intentions, and then ultimately what we see from Tyree Walton's actions. Okay. And I hope this gets back to him so he can see that we are not only lifting him up, we are pointing out the real, true, unique nature of how he solves his own problems. because we're all problem solvers, guys and gals. That means we're all perceiving, cognizing, and acting, right? And we see that from Walton here too. Think about what Walton has to do, okay? He's got to stay with this 2v1, two San Francisco 49ers and one Justin Jefferson, one Minnesota Viking who just happens to be one of the fastest, most explosive wide receivers in all the league. Look at Tyree Walton here. We talk about deceleration in context. Let's not miss this nuance here at 50% speed. Let's watch Walton again in all of his glory. It's not the prettiest of mechanics. It's not the most fluid technical model of decelerating, but what it is a highly functional fit that doesn't get in the way of Justin Jefferson. He doesn't make himself part of the action, even though he's an immediate observer and onlooker to the action. He's got to be there to call the game as it is. And now, as this unfolds, not only does he avoid Justin Jefferson and decelerate in context and look to change direction, he puts on a display of technical proficiency and acceleration that would make his running back days proud. Probably his old running backs coach too. And we see him go into actor mode and look at him perceiving to act. Okay. Now, most people, most track and field pundits, what are they going to tell you? Put your head down, get in your technical gait here, and try to look to hit those shapes and let those patterns unfold, but not Tyree Walton. No, he is perceiving at all times. And while he perceives, he just lets that flow right into the way he acts. Let's look at him taking in the information. We see almost each 49er looking at him like, how is this guy in the midst of this movement problem right now? And the best part about it is not even to us yet. Look at him go and turn and flip his hips here. This is better than the 49ers even did themselves. And I'm kind of say that in jest, but I mean that quite literally, as we see both 49ers having issues turning their hips, changing direction, getting into the acceleration, and hitting speed in a hiccup. Tyree Walton does it with ease. He's been living and breathing, probably training for this moment. But look at him get in position to be able to call it as he sees it, to call the block with Naylor and the defender, to also see what might unfold with Jefferson, the defender, Naylor, and where Jefferson is in relation to the goal line. All of this perceive to act, act to perceive, this constant intertwined, interwoven nature. Let's watch it play out for Tyree Walton one more time. Because again, we've never featured a referee, and this would be the time here at Movement Play of the Week that we want to. Yeah, he hits some speeds. Yeah, that technique looks pretty good now that he's in his gait and he's running in a straight line. But it's more so in the way that he's able to get that constant connection to the what is, because as we know, that's exactly what refereeing in the National Football League is about. As we wind down here, guys and gals, this will be the only other view that we get of this play on this video. Remember what I mentioned before, and now the commentator, whoever that might be, looks to be pointing attention to it as well, ironically enough, talking about how the dig here from Naylor, okay, at 10 yards is pulling the safety, at least pulling the safety's perceptions and cognitions, meaning their aims to act, the decision they make, the strategy they employ, just even momentarily. All it takes is a hiccup. All it takes is a brief moment to pull that guy's perception and attention, which then flows into his intentions and his actions. And that allows Justin Jefferson to get behind him. And then obviously the rest is history. But let's not miss that what we're about to see from Jefferson himself either. Now in slow motion, I think they have it in slow motion as well. Let's look at the head nod from Jefferson here to look and act as if he's going to maybe hit an out himself while Naylor is running the dig underneath him. Okay. He just gives that little head nod and look. That's enough to get the primary corner off balance, hesitating momentarily, as I mentioned earlier. Let's watch it again. Let's see it again. Oops. Got to get myself a little bit more here. Sorry about that, guys and gals. Let's go about right here, I would say. And we watch this play out, watch Jefferson in his route running. Now, these nuances, this creativity, this authenticity, this attunement, meaning this sensitivity to the way the immediate opponent, the person who's defending him, is acting, that attunement and that adaptability has always been there for Justin Jefferson. It's what allowed him to get as many catches over his career, as well as many yards as he's gotten. But notice the slight hesitation from both defenders that allows Jefferson to get this open at this time, to be open for Sam Darnold down the field. And then we see a really unique viewpoint, the topographical viewpoint, if you will, of this unfolding problem. Let's see it one more time as we here on our Football Beyond the Stats Movement Play of the Week for Week 2 of the 2024 National Football League season. We see the evolution, but we also see the special sauce that is Justin Jefferson, number 18, correct? And we can watch it in all its glory. We can learn from it. We can adapt from it. Young receivers should adapt from it, tight ends, running backs, and the like, but also corners, defensive backs could and should learn from this. Being able to become sensitive to the specifying information, those variables about someone's posture, kinematics, their speed, their opponents' opportunities to act, and how it all relates to it. Justin Jefferson, kind of in a league of his own right now. He's got a few other counterparts that we could probably make the argument for. But what we find here, guys and gals, is a new evolved nature of Justin Jefferson, which I'm excited to see. I'm intrigued to see. I hope it's not just a one-off. I hope it's not just an anomaly. I hope he continues to scan the entire landscape, because we know that there are many plays that he catches that are shorter or more intermediate routes that could allow him to find more opportunities to act with the ball in his hand and to be one of those yak guys, to be one of those exemplars. So there is a complete craft and skill there within what he does and how he does it. Hopefully some of that makes some sense for you all. I know I went on and on about some of these things. Shout out to Justin Jefferson. Shout out to Jalen Naylor for his effort and the way that he actually pulled and some hesitation and out of the safety there for the 49ers. And then most of all, shout out for Tyree Walton, our guy Tyree Walton, because I think this will be one of the highlights here at Football Beyond the Stats in this 2024 season. Hopefully it was a fun ride for y'all. Hopefully you keep coming along for that ride. If you have thoughts, ideas, comments, put them down below. Otherwise, look at my Riding the Wave blog post, which creates a theme for this year's Movement Plays of the Week. Hit the thumbs up button, like it, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Share it with your people. I appreciate y'all. I'm Sean Mishka, the Movement Miyagi, for Football Beyond the Stats and our Movement Play of the Week. I'll see y'all in week